Hi, this is Les Hughes. I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes about failure. If I could, I would just remove that word from your vocabulary. Especially as a follower of Jesus Christ. Here's why. Because if you're following the Lord and if you're listening to His voice and doing what He says, there's no way that you can fail. And certainly if you believe that you have failed big time, and maybe the failure in your life is because you weren't listening to the voice of God, then I would encourage you in this way. Remember that failure in that way is not a person. Failure is an event. And it's an event that can be recovered from. If you, the best that you could understand, were listening to the voice of God and stepping out on faith, I can promise you that you did not fail. You may not have achieved what you wanted, but you listened to the voice of God, and you took a chance. You took a leap of faith. Then learn from that. And you should say, my actions might not have led to the results that I wanted, but I learned something and I tried and I trusted God for something. You want to know a great example in the Bible of that principle is in Matthew 14, when the disciples, including Simon Peter, are on the Sea of Galilee, and there's a great wind that blows up, and the boat that they're in is tossed to and fro, and they look up on the water and they see a figure coming to them, and they believe at first the figure is a ghost. But then they become afraid. But then Jesus calls out to him and He says, don't be afraid, it is I. Simon Peter saw Jesus walking on the water, and he says, Lord, if it's really you, then call to me and let me come to you. And notice that he didn't just blindly take a leap of faith without knowing what the will of Jesus was. He said, if you'll call me, Jesus, I'll come. And Jesus said, well, come on. And that son of a gun stepped out of that boat and started walking on water. Other than Jesus, the only person in history, as far as we know, that ever did that. So he's walking on water, and then the gospel writer says that he began looking at the wind. He noticed his surroundings, and it must have occurred to him, what I'm doing is impossible. And he began to sink. And he began to sink again. He did a very wise thing. And he called out to Jesus and said, Lord, save me. And Jesus reached down His hand and pulled him up out of that water and set him safely in that boat. I just wonder if in the days ahead, the disciples might have done what guys do and given Peter a hard time about that. Maybe harassed him a little bit for, why don't you jump out there and walk on water again like last time when you sank. But if that ever happened, I don't know what Simon Peter's reaction would have been, but I can tell you what mine would have been. I would have handed out, and maybe he did, the ultimate, what we would call the ultimate shut-up juice. I would have looked at those guys and just said a couple of words. Hey, water walker, right here. Remember, I'm the one that got out of the boat, and you bozos stayed in the boat when I at least had enough faith to step out and trust Jesus. That's exactly what happened. And it might be easy to criticize someone who's stepping out on faith, who's really out there and really taking a chance, especially if they don't get the results that they wanted. But there is something to be said about trusting Jesus enough to get out of the boat. It just might allow you to walk on water. So I don't know what that thing is for you, but I would just say, man, go for it. Trust Jesus. And if it doesn't work out the way that you think that it should, He'll be there. You call out to Him and say, Lord, save me. He'll be there to do just that.